this is the innovation management, and then we were preparing this training plan. The intention was to prepare a course, a short course on innovation management, to explain how different kind of tools that we were implementing in HBP and even in the e-brains context could have a general overview of the type of things that happens in trying to manage innovation in many projects. We will start today with the, let me move to the next one. That is 2 days. Today, we will explain at the very beginning the general concepts about innovation, innovation taxonomies, and open and closed innovation, which are the basis to understand what is the situation we have. We will explain a little bit what is happening about innovation in the context of Horizon Europe, basically on Horizon Europe. And then I will mention something about the European Innovation Council, because there are now several groups in HBP preparing proposals for the European Innovation Council, and just to give an idea about that and why it should be relevant for us. And then the innovation management tools, IMTs, used in HBP. And then with this first day, we will cover general aspects related to innovation and how innovation is managed in the context of HBP. Tomorrow, in the day 2, we will start with the more advanced things. First, the business intelligence, when we speak about the technology and market watch, what could be also very relevant to know what should be the input for the future. Risk assessment, which is also very relevant because all innovation projects could have some risks, and then you need to know how to address this kind of risks. And then we will provide even some ideas about foresight and technology road mapping for the future. All of them belong also to the innovation management tools, but they are more specific and more detailed. Then tomorrow we will have also some ideas about the IP strategies. This is not the IP context of protection of technology, etc., but basically how to manage the intellectual property in order to obtain additional value for your groups or for your institutions. And then licensing strategies, which just to have an overview of the different type of licensing strategies that could use. And also in this specific case of consortium-based projects like HBPs, just to have an idea about co-ownerships and co-exploitation, because in many cases, results are not only coming from one institution, and then many institutions or several of them were participating in the development of any kind of results. Then at the end, you need to get an agreement with others to be able to obtain a good mechanism to exploit the results at the end. Okay, this is the program. Please interrupt us when you like. We have also the chat open. But anyway, we are a small number of people, then don't worry to interrupt, and then we could also answer urgent questions at any moment. Okay?
Gonzalo, just to let you know that in the screen is appearing the subtitles, transcription of what you are saying. So I don't know if you can remove it or not.
This translation is not a very good translation.
Yeah, it doesn't work well. But
it's translating.
Disable it. I cannot do it.
Okay. Anyway, we will record in the session. Then you could review the session anyway. I understand that nobody has problems to record to the session, but anyway, basically my faces, but it's also true that could appear your faces. But do you have any problem for that or not?
No.
No.
No, all good.
Okay, because in this way you could also, I don't know, invite your colleagues if they couldn't participate today to review the lectures in the web. Okay.
Another point is that if we get some questions during the session, probably the questions slot that we have at the end could be probably shorter. So in any case, we will have some minutes at the end for a specific time for questions. So but we can make both things. You can interrupt and have the questions during the session, and also later we will have this time for questions.
Okay. Any additional thing? No? Perfect. Well, let me start with the innovation concepts, just to clarify things for everybody. First of all, you need to know that this is not a single definition for innovation, that in fact, if you review the literature about innovation, you could find tens of definitions everywhere. I have a copy here in the cover of the Oslo Manual, the last version of the Oslo Manual from the OECD. It's basically the most relevant document to explain what innovation is, and then how to manage the collection of data related to innovation. And that's relevant. Then if you were interested on that, you could also download this document from OECD, because it's a very good reference here. I have a copy initially in the box, a very, very informal definition: the process of translating an idea or invention into a good or service that created the value for which customers or citizens will pay or demand. Here it refers that at the end, the question is just to put something into the market which offers some added value for people. Then you could invent something in your labs, but it's not necessarily become an invention unless, an innovation, unless you put them into the market. You could invent a washing machine powered by a nuclear reactor, and then maybe it could work. But you cannot find it into the market for many reasons. First, because economically it will be not possible. Then even regulation will avoid to use this kind of machines at home, and so on. There are many barriers to put things that could work in the lab to enter into the market. Then at the end, you need to consider that we should speak about innovation when we have something that is in the market, and then people could pay for that. Pay or demand, it depends on they were in public services or private ones. But anyway, it is something that they need to enter to be used by people. The formal definition in the manual of Oslo Manual is this one: a new or improved product or process or combination that differs significantly from the unit's previous products or processes and has been made available to potential users or brought into use by the unit. Here, it refers to several concepts that we will need to discuss now during this first hour, because it refers to products, it refers to processes. The definition here doesn't mention service, but we will prefer to explain another type of innovation, which is based on services. And then in the case of e-brains, is also very relevant, etc. No? And then at the end is saying the same. We need to put something new, something which is different than the thing we have today, in a way that could offer some added value to potential users. That is the idea. In this definition, behind this definition, there is the idea that the innovation should be put in the market. And it refers that to have an economical cost, to satisfy specific needs. I have put here 3 examples. One is just a joke, but it's copied from one in Spain. It was very well known. TVO was a comic that well, every week we had something like that when I was a child. And then it was interesting because every week they had some strange invention. In this case, is the example I have borrowed here. It's just a strange machine that with steam, with water, hot water, produces some power to move a lot of wheels. And so, and then at the end, you could see here that the finger pushes a button. Then it seemed just only to push the button. Then maybe it could work, but nobody can consider that this should be a good solution. This is a totally useless invention. And then obviously there was no innovation behind. But I put here two other examples. That's clear. Nobody will buy this kind of thing just to push a button here. But here we have also a lot of different kinds of things. I put here two pictures because they refer to different types of innovations that could have at this moment in the market, at least on experimental side. One is just like a robot to put coffee, no, or tea here. It's just one of the many kinds of robots who were invented just to generate some services for users. In this case, it's just to offer something that probably nobody will buy something like that at home, just to serve the coffee. In this case, this second case, the question is just more tricky because here, this robot is just working in hospitals in Japan. And then that's very interesting because it was created to help auxiliary people in hospitals to move patients from the bed to the bathroom or vice versa in a way that they could help them to avoid problems with the backs. You know that one of the problems in hospital with auxiliary people is the problems they have in backs by moving heavy patients from one place to another. And then in these cases, they are by experimentally this kind of innovation. It could become an innovation, well, in the sense that this robot is in hospitals, and then probably it is covering some demands from people. It could be an innovation. It's moving from the lab to the market. In this case, the market means the hospital. Then you could see here that when we think in innovation, you need to think in the added value to be offered to final users, and then to think about what should be the rationale for potential users to pay for that or to demand these kind of things. Then if all hospitals consider that to have this kind of robots should be very, very, very important, maybe you have opened a new market, and then every hospital over the world will need to buy several robots like that to manage patients in corridors and in the rooms. This is the case. Then don't forget that you need to have something that will be replicable, to have several units of the same thing at economic costs, and then it satisfies a specific need. One of the problems and one of the risks we have in innovation management is just to invent the needs, to assume that they will have some needs, and then at the end of the market, they don't recognize any need for that. Then that is the reason that behind the innovation, there is a risk of failure. If you consider many things that were created in laboratories of the world as inventions, things that even could be something totally different from the previous state of the art, it's not necessarily will become an innovation. To do that, we need to hit the market. And then even in the market, there will be also minor changes, minor improvements over years, over months, when you will have continuous improvement of the products or service once in the market. Then here, again, an innovation is something new, but something new in the market again. And then you need to consider how to transform these inventions into innovations. And then, unfortunately, a huge percentage of the inventions never reach the market. And never means that at the end, a large percentage of them were just in the basket. Nothing happens with them. And then we need also to consider why why we had these problems. And then because you could assume that in many cases we're offering something new that could be relevant. Imagine the situation for many spin-offs. If you were interested in creating a new startup to sell services or products to potential users, and you could see that nobody buy that. Nobody is interested on that. Then you made a very bad analysis of the market. The market is not a reactive solution. The solution will not considered as the best one, or at least something that I was in. Then please pay in the idea that when we speak innovation, we need to pay attention to something that is in the market to provide an added value to potential customers. Anyway, inventions could appear many years ago, but the innovation could have even appeared hundreds of years later. I have put here one example where the wheel was invented many years ago. I have copied here one wonderful card of the Sumerian battle card you see here from Ur, a city in the Middle East with 250 and 500 years before Christ, and then well, nobody was considered that it should be also a good invention to combine with another one. This is the luggage. You know that it was probably this luggage is from the 19th century or something like that. But nobody was interested in combining the idea of the wheel with the luggage until maybe at the second part of the last century. And then even at the very beginning, these luggages had only 2 wheels. Then at the end, we had also now in the market, basically luggages with 4 wheels, where we have an idea with rotating wheel. To be able to manage the luggage in the way. I don't know if you have what type of luggage you have. Maybe you could have these ones in some cases where you need to have a heavy things and then you put them. But if you are, well, today, unfortunately, we cannot travel too much. But if you are going to the plane, maybe you could use one of these models. They coexist in the market. Then it doesn't mean that with the idea of putting this luggage with 4 wheels, nobody could buy this one or nobody could buy this type of luggage. All of them coexist in the market. Then another important element here is that innovation don't imply to remove from the market previous things. But we have opened a new type of market for a new type of users that may be more interested in this kind of innovations. But then not necessarily one innovation in the market implies the removal of the previous ones. In these cases, all of them survive today. Maybe just for traveling just only for you and with a 2-3 days travel, maybe you don't need these ones, and then you could use one of these. And they could be more appropriate for a specific type of things. What is the advantage with this one? It's easy to move them even inside the plane, which is much more difficult in other cases. But that's all. And then even here, apart from the shape of the luggage, you could have also other innovation. You see here with the arm of the luggage is moving the same way than here. Maybe the material here is also another innovation because you are looking for less heavy luggages, and then you could change the material even to have a more resistance to rain or other weather conditions. Okay, then again, give the message. Innovations could appear in the market, but not necessarily remove the old ones. Another thing is just the idea that even in the market could be a discussion about if the innovation is really useful for me or not. Here, even with young people, there are some discussions about I don't like any luggage at all, because there are also other solutions. based on hands-free solution, because I like to have my hands free to move freely. And then I prefer another type of backpacks when I can put my things in my back, and then I don't have to use my hands to move the luggage. And then you could see here that even in these cases, innovation is not accepted by everybody. You could have also part of the segments of the market that could be interested for many reasons in other types of solutions. Then again, not necessarily all segments of users in a specific market will require the same type of innovation. In many cases, they prefer other things. And then even in this case, just specifically focusing on people that prefers hands-free solutions in terms of backpacks, you could have also a specific type of products based on the characteristics of the different type of segments of users. In these cases, even you could see here that there will be different type of backpacks, maybe devoted to fulfill the requirements or the habits or the specific attractiveness from different type of segments of users. Or for children, for women, for business, for sports. I don't imagine people working in an office with this kind of backpacks for children. Maybe, but this is not the typical case. You are not going to climb mountains with this kind of bag. No, and then you prefer this one. And in this case, maybe you could have here for business a lot of things, even your portable computer here. Is it impossible to put a portable computer here? No, of course. You can put it here or here. But anyway, maybe it's this case, this specific type of products could satisfy better your requirements. Then at the end, here is also another solution from the same concept on innovation, the backpack. You could have variations depending on the type of segments of users you need to address. And then trying to complete the set of requirements to be more attractive for one specific type of customers. Okay, then this is also another thing. Then sometimes you need also to think in the evolution of the different type of products into the market to satisfy specific needs. Another element that is also very relevant in the case of complex innovations into the market is just not start from scratch. You don't need to make an invention and then from the invention to start to evolve the invention to become an innovation into the market. Sometimes you could combine things that exist in the market for many years. This is the typical case of the Gutenberg press. It's, I'm using here very well-known examples, but just to pay attention to the concepts. In these cases, the idea was to combine an innovation made at the first century in Roman times, which is the wine press. It was also for olive press. Is that the same? At the end, you have a machine that could press wine grapes of olive oils, and then it was very interesting. It was also used for clothes, for print and things. And the time the T-shirts you could have here with some figure. They are using the same concept. But the concept, the idea behind the innovation made by Gutenberg in the 14th century or the 15th century was to combine another thing, to combine the idea of the wine press with another concept, another innovation produced in Korea in 1234. Was used with a metal movable type that you could combine to make words. And then again, you could put the paper in the middle and then to press them. And this is the basic concept of the Gutenberg press. Then here you could see one recreation of the Gutenberg press in California. You could see here that at the end is like more sophisticated, but at the end is the idea of combining the wine press with the mobile type. I'm saying here this process because in many cases, the attractiveness in the market is not only based on one part of the offer, and we need to include several things. If we speak about, we think about e-brains in the future, you could see that at the end, we are combining different kinds of things. In fact, different type of services to be offered as a whole. And then in many cases, individually, the added value will not be very high, but the combination of very different type of things will offer a clear added value for potential customers. Then at the end, you need also how to manage the possibility to combine different innovation into a single one. To do that, you need to integrate it. What was the effort behind the Gutenberg? Well, basically, the Gutenberg press was a smart combination of these two things. In fact, we could say with our modern words here, the integration of different kinds of innovation into a single product. This product was integrating several things. And this is typically the case when you need to integrate in the complex products or service, a lot of different things. And then you need to manage very well how to integrate them to offer all of them as a whole thing, even with the capability to use specific requirements for a specific type of users. Sometimes the invention, you see, is not an innovation because it at the end remains in the lab. I have included here another example. This is probably you know that in the 50s, in 58, Ford invented in the Ford labs, and Ford is a very large company. I'm not saying just a garage idea, where they were working in a nuclear-powered car. And this is the prototype. It's a 3/8 scale model of the prototype. But the prototype never reached the market. Why? Well, there were many reasons behind. But here, and I put the example, it's not because it was impossible to do that. No, if you have a prototype working this scale, it could be possible to invent another one with an actual size to drive and with this car in the streets. The problem is that the regulation was not ready for that. At the end, you were using here nuclear power. You need uranium to power the engine here, and then you cannot imagine to have a uranium at home and to go with a ball of uranium to your car to give them more autonomy. Then at the end, you need also to be sure that in many cases, even if the invention is working, and then you could have even a prototype, maybe you could face a lot of problems from the regulation perspective. Then at the end, based on the precautionary principle, public administrations could force inventors to fulfill some specific rules to be able to market, to commercialize the invention into the market. In the case of health sector, you see that this is the common case. At the end, you could have something that could work, but at the end, you need to have the approval for the drug administrations, anyway, drug agencies, in order to be able to use it. Even except in some experimental clinical trials, etc., when maybe you could have, but with some supervision, and anyway, just for one specific objective, which is to collect some data, to be able to have or not the final approval of the process. Then one of the difficulties for many startups, and I was involved in the development of many of them, is just that they consider that the regulation will not become a problem because at the end regulation will change. Maybe, but not necessarily on time. Regulations at the end is also affected by the vision of society in general about the risks behind. And then in many cases, they could say, this is not a risk in itself. We could change them. Imagine what is happening now with the automated vehicles. But practically it's not possible to do that here in London or in Madrid or in Rome or in Berlin. But there are also many other cases. Last year in California, in San Jose, which is in the Silicon Valley, well, now they have decided to open big part of the city to this kind of full automated vehicles, to test these vehicles in the streets. It is not possible in Europe, but it is possible there. And what should be the consequences? Well, the consequences is that many European manufacturers have decided to test their prototypes there, because it's possible and it's not possible to test them in the streets of European cities. Then here, even regulation is not the same from one place to another. And then you need to deal with the differences in the regulation aspects. Then, based on all these elements, the evolution of one innovation in society takes time. This is a very well-known graph from Rogers in 1962 about the evolution of the market. In the yellow, you could see that at the end, first slowly, then it's accelerated, then again is just the success case where this innovation is just in the whole potential market has adopted this innovation. This is the adoption curve. And then that's clear. That it should be the final success, the potential users, all of them have accepted that. Usually we're in the middle point where not everybody has accepted that, but there's a huge amount of them. Smartphones, we could consider that today has reached 100%. A robotic surgery room in hospitals is not the case. It has started, but it has not for everybody. Then if we pay attention now to the blue curve here, we could see that the behavior of customers reflected to the attitude that they have in front of innovation. Some of them are innovators, means that they like to accept this innovation even by saying that or by accepting that they will be failures. And then maybe it doesn't work perfectly, but it doesn't matter. They prefer to start that. Others will wait a little bit. These are early adopters, then early majority, then late majority, and then they are laggards, which means that they need to accept that because there are no other things. Imagine that now today, I like to use a computer with or a switching system with relays. That doesn't exist. We cannot buy them. They are not in the market. Then obviously I was pressed to adopt another type of innovation. What is the shape of the curve in your country or in your region or in your institution? Maybe they are not the same. Maybe the peak will be more to the right side or more on the left side. And then obviously it refers to the attitude for innovation. There is also a cultural trend to understand the behavior. But anyway, you need to understand for your specific case, if you are trying to put something into the market, what kind of users you have, what should be the behavior of your users, and then to define the innovation management in a way that you could adapt yourself to the type of customers or to modify the behavior of your customer, which is not easy. Okay, that's the idea. Why people wait? Well, people prefer to wait because in this way they could benefit from the experiences from others. It is the same you could have at home. If you receive a message now that there is a new version of the operating system, so changing everything, you could have two attitudes. Oh, perfect. I will install the new version tonight at home, immediately. But many others will say, wait a little bit. I prefer to see what is the reaction from users, looking at the website, the comments made by others, and then on the basis of this information, I will decide. You are not a pure innovator. You prefer to wait a little bit. And this is clearly anchored in your behavior. Then, pay attention to the behavior of your potential customers. Obviously, technologies based on that could enter into the market and diffuse into the market with more or less speed. Here, one area that many large consultancy groups are working very well, Gartner is an example that I'm using here, produce periodically this kind of graphs with the idea that some technologies will evolve over time. Some of them are in this part where many of them will have maybe a lot of expectations. Oh, yeah, this should be something very, very relevant. Some of them now say, well, this was the expectation were not true, and it was diffusion. The diffusion was not so good, and then at the end it reached maybe a plateau were more or less the final one. Here, in these cases, which respond to the last year, July last year, Gartner generated this one related basically on different kinds of technologies. You could find here that there are several symbols saying that for Gartner's experts, at the end they consult a lot of people, they say, oh, it should be ready now, or it should be ready in 2 to 5 years. 2 to 5 years means that it will reach just the final the estimation said that they will be the plateau. Then some of them are here with this blue, light blue, or dark blue here. Some of them even more than 10 years. The interpretation is just pay attention to this one, bidirectional brain-machine interface, because it's closer to our work. They say, oh, bidirectional brain-machine interface is dark blue. They are saying that in 5 to 10 years, they will be a consolidated innovation. Do you think so? Because if you pay now attention to this kind of curve and decide your investments on the basis of these estimations, you could be wrong. At the end, if you start making investments in one startup to be ready in the market for 5 years because it will be consolidated, and this is not true, and it will be more than 10 years, probably you will lose a big part of your investments. And if you delay the decision, waiting for clear data to do that, maybe others will enter into the market before you, and then you will be much more difficulties to hit the market. Then at the end, to know that is also very, very relevant. Then I don't like, obviously, in some minutes to give you a global idea about innovation, but at least summarize here several concepts. Innovation implies to move solutions to users. Any invention in the lab is not an innovation. You need to move them to users to address some needs. And then, please pay attention from the very beginning to the question of, is there still a need for me now? When I enter into the market, not necessarily 3 or 4 years ago, when I started the process. No, now. With the market, years ago, in the 80s, when I was working in a multinational company, we were working in the development of one electronic board. I'm a professor in telematics engineering, that I'm working in this kind of things. No? Where we were trying to have a specific solution for controlling floppy disk. You remember the floppy disk you have in your computers? And then we invented something to control from 4 to 8 floppy disks in a single board. The board was something like that. This is some 20 centimeters by 15 or something like that. You know? Then in the middle of the project, we realized that another large microprocessor company decided to launch in the market a microcontroller, just a chip, to be able to manage 8 floppy disks in the same way. Then we had a clear idea that, that our solution, our product, was necessary 2 years ago when we started the project. But now, if they are planning to put in the market this microcontroller next month, probably there's no market for us. And this was in a large multinational company. But you couldn't say, yeah, but we will assume that the microcontroller will arrive at the market maybe in 2 years more. And then we have a time window of 2 years to sell our products. It was not true. They're not easy to do that. Another concept, innovation can be obtained by combining previous innovations. Think in the Gutenberg press. Another thing, innovations evolve over time. When you have something in the market, they will have additional improvements and new things and new features and new, and even the performance will improve. Then it's not a single product totally fixed in the product, in the market. They will evolve. Innovation process is risky, and only some of them will become a success. Then you will need to have a risk management coupled with innovation management. Tomorrow we will explain a little bit about that. And then you need also to consider different type of risk sources. Market understanding, not good. Funding was not enough. Protection was not considered. Cost benefits, not enough to attract people. Regulations, they are not changed, at least not at the speed you were liking. And then at the end, innovation diffusion takes time. And you need also to have a perspective and a time horizon to be able to consider how your innovation would reach the market. Any question here? I have started with very, very basic concepts, but just to be sure that everybody shares the same kind of things. Is there any strange things from your, in my words for you? No?
It's okay. No.
Okay,
It's
perfect.
okay.
But second point, can I classify innovations? Innovation could be classified according to many criteria. There are in the literature many taxonomies of the different type of different types of innovation, but not necessarily all of them will be interested. Then classifications and here depends on the objectives. And in many cases, complex products, you see, combine multiple individual innovations. And then sometimes to classify a single product when they combine many things is not easy. I have put here an example with the robotic assisted surgery, and it could be classified from many perspectives. It's running, it's just a machine that exists today. And then in these cases, I can try to think in this kind of innovation specifically. Imagine that there's something new in hospitals, but this is not the normal one, but there are several robots like that. On the target, on the innovation, yes, I could need to pay attention to the target. What is the target of these robots? It's just the idea is just to reduce very invasive surgeries, operations, then or not? What is the impact in terms of the business organization of society? But here, obviously, the organization of the surgery room should change, for sure. The interaction with business processes, obviously, the people in charge of using this kind of robots need to change their processes. They cannot use the old ones, for sure. Is the technology mature enough? This is also another way to combine here the innovation in terms of maturity level. Some of you have used the TRL, the technology readiness level. We will mention something at the end just to remember that. But and again, I can classify them. Is this robot in the last? It depends. If I'm using here a prototype just for testing the feedback from doctors. Well, this is not the case. That having something that they can buy in the I don't imagine to buy these kind of things in a big magazine, but at least I can buy in the market. It should be mature enough to do that, you know. And then another thing is how this robot has been developed, by a single entity or by using many of them. It's reverse also, but there are many classifications. Let me put some examples here. The typical one is just to distinguish between product innovation, process innovation, and service innovation. I've put here several examples. Well, the product innovation is when I'm introducing into the market a new or improved product, different from the previous ones. And then I put here two examples. The first time that the pen drive was introduced in the market was an innovation as a product, something that changed totally the way to store information in a portable computer. Then at the end, the results was that previous solutions, like floppy disk or other kind of thing, disappeared in the market because this new kind of products offered a lot of advantages with respect to the previous one. Or the virtual reality glasses could be something totally different. Nothing exists, and then I'm introducing a product innovation here. In all cases, belong to the ICT sector, but you could find product innovation in many other sectors. Process. In these cases, I'm speaking about a way to do something in a different way. New procedures to do something. Usually, we have a process innovation in manufacturing because I'm producing things in a different way. Again, two examples. The agile software development, which is reference methodology for developing software, which is based on the minimal viable things and then to grow up the functionality in a way that is easy to reform and to change, etc. And is more convenient. And today, maybe the large majority of the software development companies have used this methodology, agile software development. Or, for instance, the manufacturing technology for microprocessor with 5 nanometers, which is just in the state of the art today. No, well, there are some examples with 3 nanometers, but this is the 5 is very, very, very advanced. They need to have a very advanced lithography mechanism to produce, to manufacture this kind of microprocessors. And an example, service innovation. Maybe to put an examples again, when they have a new service into the market, cloud services is a very good example, but streaming music, which is also another type of service. Obviously, this kind of services need to have a technology behind. If not, it would be not possible. Then to have a cloud service of streaming music refers to the need to have a high bandwidth to be able to download this kind of information, not necessarily continuously, or the cloud services obviously need to have larger repositories accessed by using high performance networks. We could find these kind of examples in eBrains and HBP. Think about 3 elements here. Neuromorphic chips, imagine a Spinnaker, to put an example. Epilepsy surgery planning, HPC simulation in NEST. Think about at what extent this could be examples of a product, process, or service. My intention here with these slides is to show that we're speaking about the huge final product. In a project like HBP, you could have several things that could be classified as product, process, or service innovation, not a single one, not a single one. Sometimes you need to refer to evolutionary or revolutionary innovations. Here is more, you see, we're speaking here about at what extent they have changed totally the landscape. Evolutionary means that, well, maybe every 3 months you could find a new model of the same smartphone, or just to have a new type of batteries with a better performance. But this is not a deep change. The smartphone is practically the same. In revolutionary innovations, you would have something that it doesn't exist. And then here, fully automated vehicle is an example of the new type of vaccines. Here again, you could have, at what extent part of the results in HBP could be classified here? It could be a discussion. That's in many cases not clear. In other cases, I put here question marks. It's the brain data from brain atlases, the brain atlases here, and then I'm including more things and more things and more details and more detail. It's an incremental one. or there's a neuromorphic computer, totally different. It's a revolutionary innovation. Well, it's not yet in the market. It could be. In other cases, we also refer to another taxonomy based on the role played by technology, or technology-based innovation, organizational-based innovation. Practically in our cases, we are speaking about technology-based innovation, but there are many innovations that they don't depend on technology. Let me put an example. If you are moving from groceries, typical one, in your street, to supermarkets, practically what is the technology role here? Is just to have a charge to put things into the supermarket, but we cannot say that this is a very advanced technology things. We don't need it. But there are a huge differences in terms of the way to provide the service to the customer. In one say, the role of customers in the case of supermarkets need to be much more active. And then here, the companies managing the supermarkets started to consider other kinds of things. For instance, the importance of the product placement. Just because you need at the end of the humans are visual animals, and they could react to things that they see on the shelves. Another example is the petrol stations. When you have one person to use or to help you in putting oil in your gas in your car, or nothing. It's automatic. You need to serve yourself and then to enter another place to pay. It's an organizational innovation because the technology is the same. Or even here, I have put this example. Now all airports have internally changed the layout to give more space for shopping. Even they put with signs on, even in the floor, they have put here some signals to move around. And then at the end, it's very interesting because in this case it was studied, because at the end, the average time to reach your gate could be even higher, because you are not moving directly to the gate. You need to go through the shopping area, but that's very important for them. And they have reorganized the structure. In all cases, they are organizational inventions. The organizational innovations, because technology is not relevant here. And the last one, this is also relevant, is just how the innovation was created. We could say in the closed innovation, when everything is internal to my unit, to my company, and then it's all my responsibility. I was the only entity in charge of producing the innovation. But we have also another model. Basically because I needed to accept and to address another complementary knowledge, which is not available in my company. And then I need to move to an open style. Every type of consortium based refers to this one, open innovation. Then here, if I need to move to cooperate with others, I need to create here a mechanism where people could cooperate, even if they belong to different entities. More clever people and useful ideas is very relevant, but I need to know how to do that. We are living in a project with more than 130 partners. I'm not saying that everybody works with everybody, but it's also true that many of the innovations coming from the project is not an effort coming from a single institution, and many of them should cooperate together. This is the typical way of representing the closed innovation. I have the borders of my entity. These are solid lines here. Nobody happens. I have a research department when I can produce several things. Many of them could fail, but some of them could be very promising results. And then I need to move them to the engineering department to generate at the end the product and then to hit the market. But this approach means that I will have internally into my company all the knowledge I need to produce that, which is not necessarily the case. In many ideas, in many cases, just to wait for the results of your research department is not enough for several reasons. Maybe because it will fail. In other cases, because I need to wait a lot of time, and then others could anticipate my results. Then in these cases, I need to hire and train skilled people in my unit. I need to anticipate technology needs with my own ideas. I need to protect everything because everything should be controlled by myself. And then even the only possibility is just to have subcontracts. But that's all. Unfortunately, today, this process based on closed innovation is only used when you have the whole capabilities to manage the development of your products by using this approach. You need to have everything inside your company. And this is not the case. Usually, you need to move to another approach, which is open innovation, which refers to the idea that obviously you have the funnel is practically the same, going to one market here, but maybe the market is very dynamic and not the only possibility. And sometimes you could find other markets that could be also relevant because here in the market, everything is also moving very fast. And then maybe you could extract new ideas to address other needs in other markets. You need also to have the possibility to do your work, not an isolated thing, but with others in a consortium. Maybe you could have also external subcontracting, maybe or not. And then to have a more flexibility here. Even at some extent, you could also create another company, spin out, to address the future evolution of this kind of products, not to go to this market, but just to move to another one based on these ideas. And then you need producers and licenses to do that. This is totally different. You see? If we consider here that the e-brain should be the final one, maybe we are working in an open sense because we have a consortium and then this final product to hit the market is not composed by a single product, but by many of them. In these cases, the open innovation implies that instead of hire and train my people in my company, I need to work with others. I need to anticipate technology needs and pave the way in my corporate labs, research labs internally are the only source. No, here I can launch exploratory projects with others. I need to share IP with other partners, which is a complexity for sure. It's easier to do that internally because I need to protect my everything in my company and that's all. No, here I need to co-share the property of things. And it introduces another complexity. We will see it tomorrow. And then, obviously, I need to set up new corporate procedures, metrics, follow-up, tools, etc., and maybe a cultural change to be able to work with others. This is the case. Then, today, we are moving to the closed model, to an open model in many cases. Not easy, for sure. You need to solve things. But it's also another element here. This transition from the closed model to an open model is also coming because sometimes you need also to increase your revenues. Revenues? In what sense? Well, maybe you could have market revenues with the internal development costs and the balance is positive, then I have more incomes than expenses, everything is okay. But today, due to harder competition, because the technology evolution means that you need to make investments in new machinery every time, etc. The problem that many companies is that if they like to do everything internally, the market revenues will be lower than expenses. And this is not sustainable. The only way is just to be able to increase the possibilities of revenues from other sources. For instance, with technology licenses, to consider your technology as a source of revenues by licensing the technology to others. And this is commonly used today. Or even to have investments in spin-offs or startups. and then to obtain additional revenues for the participation in these kind of companies. Then today, with the open innovation model, I'm trying to introduce other sources of revenues in order to avoid this non-sustainable closed innovation model that's happening today. And then it implies a huge procedural change. How to do that? There are many ways. I don't like to enter now into details, but they have projects developed with cooperation with several partners. This is our case. In our case, it's just open cooperation between partners in an open innovation community, totally open, but everybody can contribute. This is not the case for complex things. In some cases, yes, I will have a long-term partnerships with others, and many companies are signing agreements with other companies to develop together. Typical thing now in many sectors, there is a combination of capabilities from several companies. Obviously, traditional contract research is not an open model, but it's included into this picture. And then open innovation platform for open challenges. It's very common now. Many multinationals have a portal where they submit to the portal, well, open challenges, not very detailed, just to receive ideas from others. And then depending on the idea received, they could select the ideas and then to pay attention to some ideas and then to enter in a bilateral agreement with the providers of these ideas. And then you could find now that practically all multinational companies have opened open innovation platforms for open challenges where you could submit your idea here. What is happening in eBrains? We have a consortium, then practically the concept we're using is an open innovation in terms of a consortium of entities. We have not long-term partnerships here outside the HBP, but maybe in the future, thinking in eBrains, you could have also some agreements with others. And even the idea of the partnering project we have could be considered as part of it. The project is not only the consortium, because we have a lot of partnering projects who are working with us with a different type of commitments, for sure, to address things that are not exactly in the core of the HBP, maybe, but at the end they contribute to the global structure here. And then even we are expanding these kind of things even in cooperation with other brain initiatives over the world. Then at the end, even in these cases, which is practically an HBP consortium, we have also moving to have agreements with others. I have put here the open innovation scheme in this way, just focusing on HBP, where we have spin-outs. There are, if I remember well, 7, 8, Guillermo will know better than me, new companies in the process. We have also new markets, not exactly for eBrains, but imagine intelligent robotics that could be a different market, or neuromorphic chips for other type of applications, could be interested. And then here we have, again, the use of open innovation in the context of HBP. I'm finishing this part. Then at the end, maybe in 2 or 3 years, we will have an open innovation ecosystem around HBP. We have the core, which HBP partners, have decision-making bodies for sure. We have external entities participating in calls or related to partnering projects funded at the national, regional level. We have also members of the innovation communities that could produce additional things. We could have also users at the end of the community. All of them, all these kind of entities will belong to the open innovation ecosystem that we need to build up at the end of the project as a part of the eBrains that hopefully will become a European research infrastructure in ESFRI, maybe in July. That's the situation. Then obviously we have tried to do that. Now we will need to know how to manage the exploitation of the results in this context. I don't like to explain that because it is part of my colleague, but now we say how, at what extent we're trying to identify here the exploitability of HBP results. In some cases, it's just through dissemination, training plan, academic publications, open diffusion, things like that, or by protecting the results and then by entering in the commercialization of research results, which are the analysis we are doing at this moment with the exploitation plans that you have prepared. Then, obviously, innovation is a very important element here, because don't forget that at the end, we need to offer an added value to the market. Well, that's all from my side. Then I don't know, you have here some questions, or do you prefer to wait after the presentation from Guillermo? Any question here? Well, let me see your faces.
Hello. Yeah, maybe a little question here. It was just to clarify, because you said HBP is going to become an open innovation ecosystem, and there were open innovation community or open innovation platform. So which one of the two would be the more?
In this case, we're speaking more than HBP. I'm saying that is the situation with e-brains, because HBP will finish in 2 years. And then we need to move, but we're preparing, paving the way to e-brains. Then my reference is just for e-brains. In fact, we need to do that in the context of HBP, because we need to use these 2 years to create this open innovation ecosystem. This is not ready, not yet. And then what type of innovation ecosystem is? Well, it's basically just to be able to offer a continuous improvement of services that we have integrated in a legacy product, which is eBrains. At the end, eBrains has considered a lot of things. But the idea to open new market is because some of the results produced in HBP are not integrated as a part of the eBrain services. And you could address different type of things. For instance, neuromorphic computing, which is not part of the brains, but could be also interested in order to produce, to address another market. But if we consider e-brains as the most relevant final product of the HBP effort, in fact, it is a combination of different type of services all together in a single, as you like, product. It doesn't mean that all users, potential users, need to use everything in eBrains. No, because they will use a specific type of services depending on the needs that they have.
Okay. Yep.
But it's not totally open, because it requires an integration of different kinds of services in a way that everybody could move from one tool to another in order to have a typical process to do more complex things.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any additional question? No? Okay, then Guillermo, do you prefer to use your slides? No, you're muted.
Yes, I will use my slides, but I will jump to the AMT tools applied in HBP, because the European Council Horizon 2020 is better that you explain later when I finish, or tomorrow.
Yeah, or tomorrow. It's not relevant here.
Okay. Let's. Okay, can you see the slides?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Okay. Well, let's see, after Gonzalo's introduction, let's see how we are addressing the different aspects of innovation in HBP, more in a practical way and with specific tools that with which some of you are already familiar. Well, there is... sorry?
Could you please make the full screen model, so the presentation model?
Now it's better?
Now is this strange modus where we see the panel in the right.
Okay, with that, yes, okay, sorry. Yeah, okay. Now it's now it works.
Now it's perfect, thank you.
Okay, thank you for the information. Thank you very much. Well, from the introduction that Gonzalo has delivered to us, we have extracted 6 key areas that on which innovation is really impactful, and the areas that we have to be aware in the management of this kind of processes. Well, first of all, we need to know and to be aware of the importance of innovation. That it has been very well addressed, this question by Gonzalo, in the importance of not only to know what we can do with our resources, but also why and for whom this innovation it deserves to be working in innovation. So innovation awareness, to some extent, allows you to be committed with innovation, to be committed with the different processes around innovation. Second key area is to know how we can get the markets. There are different modalities for that. There is, we will see in a minute, that we can choose depending on our capabilities, depending on the market target, the different aspects. We can choose one way or another, but in any case, the purpose of technology transferring in these different modalities is to be more practical, to be open to the market, very much aligned with the open innovation concept that Gonzalo introduced. So technology transfer is the second area. Third is the industrial engagement. It is very important, not only thinking in terms of transferring the results, but also to promote collaboration, to put new industrial actors or users. Probably could be industrial, in other cases, not so market industrial profile, but in any case, users around our work. So it is important also to have a network very well defined and to make and to put in running different initiatives to make to be possible to navigate through the open innovation system that has been some minutes ago explained. Another key area to be aware is we need to be informed. We need to know what is happening there, not only presently, but also in the future. That is a concept of technology intelligence on which we will be more. We will explain much more tomorrow in the section of foresight, technology watch, and so on. So this is a key area that allows us to be informed and to be proactive, to be prepared for the next for the future, and to react as well to different movements that in your area of work people are doing. The next, the fifth key area that will be explaining in this next hour is entrepreneurship. Very important. It's a kind of modality of transferring knowledge, or transferring technology to the markets through the entrepreneurship. As you can remember from the funnel, open innovation funnel that was described some minutes ago, you can see that setting up a startup or spin-off out of the funnel allows you to observe in the practice and in the real world what the industry is demanding and what kind of things, what is your relative position in this competitive environment. So entrepreneurship is very important. And here is to be a pioneer, as I say here, because it's a kind of risky, sometimes risky initiative, but it's so valuable that you receive the real feedback from the market that is important to consider at least the possibility of making a company. And here we have two different directions in HBP. Entrepreneurship considered as an inward observation, which groups in HBP are likely to set up a company in the short term, at least during HEA3, looking inside, looking inward. And we have another perspective that is also very important, is to think on entrepreneurship as a way of connecting startups out of HBP with nothing, with no connections yet with HBP, how we can put them also in connection, linked to HBP through different calls, through different, just with different initiatives that are aiming to let them know that HBP can offer them different things and services, product services. So the entrepreneurship has two directions, inwards and looking outwards as well. And we are working in the innovation team, we are working in both dimensions. Finally, another aspect very important to consider when we are dealing with innovation and managing innovation is how we can protect our results. How can we be sure that our work will be successfully exploited by us, successfully transferred, but in any case, how can we guarantee that the technology that we have developed is actually in our hands? So that is the question of IP, intellectual property rights. That is a very big concept on which this included from patents to brands protection, industrial design, for example, protection. We have industrial secrets. We have intellectual property, intellectual capital, like software, for example, and any other kind of assets, knowledge assets that you are generating. And it's important to make a specific strategies for that. So this, the concept from that, it is that you need to be strategic and to be cautious about the protection things and the risk that you assume when you are revealing your work to the world without any, let's say, barriers or at least some initiatives to protect yourself. So this is the 6 key areas that we will see in detail now. So the next minutes, I will be focused on these 6 areas. And as you can see here in our team, we have created a framework articulated by 2 tasks with which we are able to address these 6 topics at the right hand of your screen. In the innovation team, we have task 8.5. We belong to work package 8, as you know. The task 8.5 is facilitate the technology transfer processes and to contribute to accelerate the exploitation of HBP results, HBP services and tools through eBrains. Task 8.6 is more related with this openness that Gonzalo was describing with open innovation. It consists of 2 specific initiatives that try to engage, to put people around the project, inside of the project, as partners, as collaborators, as users of eBrains. That is the engagement task. Engage industrial actors in the co-development and or utilization of e-brain tools and services. So in the task 8.5, we have four subtasks. The first one is the more strategic one. It's just the activity that we develop, trying to have clear exploitation plans from different groups, to create our own innovation management plan, to update any strategic around innovation, and monitor that through the 3 years of HEA3. So, well, we monitor these plans, and that is why the red arrow is capturing in the red box the 6 topics, because it is a let's say a wide an overall task in subtask in task 8.5. Second one is to reinforce all about culture aspects of innovation in HBP, reinforce the HBP researchers' awareness, and to let them to put in the project different efforts to convince people that innovation is important. One obvious example is the session that we are having today with you. Is part of the training courses that we deliver, trying to make people aware of this innovation importance. That is the first activity, is innovation training with the green arrow that you can see there. Innovation community communication and outreach is very important, also to let people know about our activities, and also to let people to inform to the rest of the HBP community about their own achievements, their own activities in regards to innovation. So that is why we have here an innovation web page where we use as a channel for you to understand what we are doing. The innovation newsletter recently launched. We have already three numbers that you probably have received, and the innovation awards. That is a new initiative, also to let people know what kind of best practices in regards to innovation are taking part in the project. And finally, we coordinate some brain innovation events. From time to time, we organize different events where innovation is a main part of the initiative. So, well, we have the third subtask is to develop market analysis and roadmaps of HBP. So it is very much to do with technology intelligence, and also, as you can see with the roles, about entrepreneurship, because normally a small company that is emerging from HBP needs to have some, needs to make a business plan and needs to be supported by someone or some people or some observations of what are the characteristics of the market where the startup will be immersed in the future. So you need to be prepared for the competition. So that is why this developed market analysis and roadmaps are useful in these two aspects. So this is something that we will see in a minute, that we have already completed different analysis on different topics. And some of them are very, very specifically supported, and I think that quite usefully with a very good reception by people. We are making some of them very specifically for the startups in HBP. Finally, match HBP results with market needs. That is a very crucial activity in our task 8.5, because it's consisting of making to materialize the connection between offer and demand, to materialize the transferring of different technologies to the markets through the communities, the industrial engagement activities, new partners, new actors that like to be involved in HBP through any kind of dialogues. We also detect opportunities for connecting or for informing the research, HBP research groups about people that proactively contact us or contact another groups in HBP, and we try to put them in contact with the right people in HBP, with the people that is working in this specific area. And as you can see, also the IP protection and ownership is also connected to this match results, because obviously we need to know, and we normally have a very good information about that from your exploitation plans. We need to know if you are dealing with this protection aspects well, or we can recommend you something else in order to materialize, as I said you before, to materialize this transferring. So IP protection and ownership is also important in this subtask, match HBP results with market needs. Task 8.6, as I told you before, consists of two specific activities. One of them is the national innovation communities. It is a group, a network of around 20, 30 members, more or less, industrial members normally, hospitals included, that, well, with which we interact regularly, and we inform on the HBP opportunities, on the HBP goals. We present to this community also regularly different well, technologies developments that are taking part in HBP. Recently, we have had the virtual epileptic patient, the Atlas, and different initiatives. So national new communities is now an initiative that is working well, at least by the moment in Spain, and it's going to be expanded to other countries. And finally, the call on engagement of industry, SMEs and startups that has been recently closed, and I will talk about it later more in detail. But well, the objective was to include in our project some industrial companies that they were not representation of industries in the project up to now. But now we can say very happily that we have already 7 companies that are formal members of HBP. So each of these companies, we will obviously working in a specific project that will give rise to new opportunities for exploiting these technologies through e-brains. So it is a very practical and very straightforward initiative that has been successfully proposed in HGE2 to be implemented in HGE3. It was approved, and finally we have these companies in the project. So that is an overview of these specific tools that we are using in the context of HBP. So let's start with the first one, innovation awareness tools. It is consisting of these 3 subtopics. Capacity building, we try to focus on capacity building with communication and also with incentives. With this, as I told you before, we are trying to create a culture of innovation in HBP. We need to understand what is the discipline, and we have to communicate the achievements and the best practices to the rest of the project, and also externally. So capacity building is it consists of training courses and some innovation follow-up activities, because the training courses, as you can see there, we have already delivered 3 courses. One of them was the TRL, Technology Readiness Level Assessment, last last year. Then we have also delivered an exploitation plans course, trying to explain a specific part of innovation that is exploitation, and then it has been basically trying to explain you how to make the different exploitation plans by the end of March or April. And we have already collected exploitation plans from the different groups, almost all of them, and we are analyzing. In this process, and we have also delivered a course to a group of software developers in a hackathon related with software licensing as well. So this is this present course, the innovation management course, is the fourth of a series of courses that we continue during the project, during the HEA3. For example, after summer, we are planning to deliver something related with research funding, something also related with technology intelligence, more in detail than the slides that we will present tomorrow, but more profound course on intelligence. So in this processes, we also try, for example, with the explaining the exploitation plans and so on. The courses not only give us the opportunity to explain you what are the main from an educational perspective, what are the main things to know about on innovation and exploitation. It's also an opportunity to interact with you and to keep you informed on different, to follow up the activities that you are doing. For example, now we are informing that we will have these two courses in after summer, but we will also talk a little bit when we talk about market analysis or exploitation plans, how many we have received, why some groups have been a little bit delayed in contrast with others. You will have also opportunity to ask us about any specific questions you have about that. So these training courses also can work as a follow-up activity for us. Communication, that is the second subtopic of innovation awareness. Communication activities that we have implemented recently is the innovation web page. Well, innovation web page was built in HEA2, but in any case, it's something that we normally update, and you have everything in this web page. You will find there the technology catalog, the national innovation communities, all about technology maturity, technology readiness levels. You have there a checklist to assess the maturity of your technologies. You have the market analysis and roadmaps, the open calls, everything. And you have also the awards. So it's a very comprehensive web page where you can find a lot of things about our activity in HBP. The innovation newsletter is something very new. We have already a lot of subscriptors. We, in the first number, as you can see in the screen, we introduce the innovation prizes. We update people about the S3 process. We talk about the facility hubs, and we also use the newsletter to inform you about new international events on innovation. For example, in this case, we introduced the Brain Innovation Days. In the second issue, we introduced the Innovation Awards. We make also use of this newsletter to talk about the specific technology areas. In some cases, small piece of test could be more technology, could be more technology oriented and with some a little bit more difficult to understand, but we try always to because we know that people in the area will be very interested to read it, but also people which is not familiar with the topic. But we try to make a newsletter that is very readable, very understandable, and then we try to be not very very complex in the terms that we use. Well, and then we have some introduction of the European Innovation Council and the innovation communities and the new market analysis. And then, well, finally, we have this third release that has been published 1 week or 2 weeks ago, where you can find, for example, more information about the results of the call of engagement for industry and startups and so on. So, well, that is the work that we do to let people know what we are doing and to let people inform to the rest of the project what they are doing in terms of innovation. Finally, in this, to finalize with this innovation awareness tools, we have the different incentives to make people innovate. And then, for example, the awards is something that we have already selected three proposals to the DIR that they will decide the SIP or the DIR. I think is the SIP. They will decide what are the winners of this recognition of this award. To apply for these awards, you need to have something relatively mature in your group, technologically mature, around TRL 5 or 6, and then to justify why you presume that your development should be awarded, because, for example, you can demonstrate that well, obviously you have made an exploitation plan of that, and you have different ideas to put that in the market, in the scientific or industrial markets. So this process will be repeated every 6 months. Well, in some months before, probably 1 month or around before summer. In any case, you will be informed of the winner of this semester. But well, I invite you to look for interesting things that you are doing, your group is doing, and try to apply for these awards as a candidate. Another kind of incentive that we have in HBP, not only in HBP, that is Innovation Radar is not HBP initiative, it's an European Commission initiative. Innovation Radar tries to publish and to make different investors and everybody around innovation in Europe to inform them on the different results that are emerging from the different commission projects. One of them is HBP. So, and they classify the results in 4 groups. Something that is just an exploration. It's not still. It has not a very high level of maturity. Something that is tech ready, technologically ready, business ready, or markets ready. Regularly, once per year, we have to inform the Commission on the different results that we have in HBP. That's why we address you the question, and we try to find together and to create a list of technologies that could be candidates for this innovation radar. And then the Commission receives this from us and from many others European Commission projects, and put them in this web page. So you can look in Google Innovation Radar European Commission, and you can explore with different keywords. And I understand that it is for an investor that likes to promote something. It's very interesting to use this instrument, and for researchers and developers, it's also very interesting to be present there. So we receive, after our proposal, we receive a feedback from the Commission telling what are his opinion on the different possibilities of our innovations, and finally the Commission select some of them and put them in the web page. So this is a kind of incentive for researchers, not only in HBP, but throughout Europe and throughout the European projects. Okay, let's talk about technology transfer. Technology transfer is a very important, as you know, topic in innovation, and then implies to know what we have, to assess what we have, what is the exact maturity of what we are doing, to understand how we can transfer that, and try to make this matching, the offer and demand. So it is the three things that we will see now. To know where we are, we have different tools. First of all, we need to know if we are making something new. As Gonzalo commented, innovation implies to put something new in the market, or at least not radically, sometimes gradually or incrementally new, compare what we have in the past. But at least, for sure, we need something that it has a component of novelty, that it is very much related, and that is why I have put this condition to get a patent. Is very much related with the criteria that a technology patent should have to be patented. So the novelty, an invention is something that is new. It has to have an industrial application. It has to be practical. And also, it needs not to be very obvious. It has to demonstrate that behind this novelty, this innovation, there is a quite important quantity of work, that it is something that has been made not very obviously, but with a process. When you have this kind of things, and you can demonstrate that you comply with these three criteria, you can start to think that you are making an innovation, that you are making something practical and new. And then the second point that you have to assess is to know where you are in this process. If it is just an idea that needs to be developed, then you are in TRL 1 or TRL 2, conceptualizing what you have. And then at the other side, at the top, you can have something that is ready for the markets. And then in that case, you are in TRL 9. For the people that attended, any of you that attended the TRL specific course that I delivered in last some months ago, well, there is much more information about this TRL assessment, but just for you to know in general terms, it has a scale that goes from 1 to 9. And the first block, let's say from 1 to 3, is something that demonstrates the feasibility of the idea, is something very much related yet with the knowledge generation, that is something related with academic process to conceive something that needs to be developed. The second block, 4, 5, and 6, TRL 4, 5, and 6, comes with a real development of a prototype of your product, not necessarily a physical product. It could be also a service or a process, but in any case, you have a model that can be tested. and validate it in a real environment and demonstrate it. So finally, it's a block that gives you an idea of to what extent your engineering part or your construction or materializing the idea is possible, and all the technical things around that. That is the second block, 4, 5, and 6. And finally, when your prototype is proven and is working well in simulating conditions, for example, very close to the real conditions, then you can qualify it with complementary instructions, documentation, deployment. You can prove it and the usefulness in the real conditions, and then you are in the third block. That is the system functionalities proof, operational feasibility, and progression. That is the real, the final process of your development to put something in the market. So this is the 3 clear blocks of the tutorial scale. And you have in the innovation web page, you have a checklist with the different points that you need to be aware and to tick in the different levels. So as you know, we have required you to use this checklist in the exploitation plans, because the exploitation plans that we that you have sent to us needs to put in paper what you want to do with your or the group is likely to put or to make in terms of innovation. And for that, you need to, of course, specify what is the specific technology that you're talking about, but also to specify very well where you are. So I encourage you to use the checklist. I know that some of you have done it, others haven't. Other people has, well, more or less put an eye in the checklist and another eye in what they initially wanted or on the idea that they already had in terms of maturity. But so they have used it, the checklist, but not with a very high precision. But in any case, it's important that if you don't know still to use the checklist, ask us about that. Address us any questions that you have on this assessment. But it's important because not only to put and to tick as a 6, as a 5, or as a 4, or whatever. It's important because in this checklist you will find and you will realize of many things that probably you should not be aware that you need to do in order to, for example, demonstrate the operational aspect of your technology. You should look at these points and to understand very well what they are saying, and probably and surely you will find things there that are useful and can be the justification to initiate something else in regarding your work to make it more complete and to make it much more ready market. So that is the assessment of the process. But then once we know what we want to where we are, what we are doing and where we are, we need to know how to transfer that to the markets to be considered an innovation. So there are many transferring modalities. You can see there in the right part of the screen. All of them very different, but you should understand the options that you have and the application that each of them has. Technology transfer, as a definition, implies to bring technological solutions or services from an institution or person that has the rights to do it, it's important, to other scientific or industrial actors. So it is, when we talk about technology transfer, we are referring to an intersection what science is doing, what business is claiming or is saying to us, and what is the law around that, especially the IP rights law. So technology transfer has to conjugate the three topics. It's a difficult experience, a difficult task, because you have to, if you are, for example, a technology transfer manager in your group, you need to deal with scientific interest, business interests, and the law. And you already know very well that this the mentality of a scientist, of a businessman, of a lawyer is very different. So this is the typical problem that technology transfer finds normally in every technology transfer institutions. The connection between the mindset of a scientist with the mindset of somebody that is trying to put something practically in the market. So what kind of modalities we have? Well, probably the most obvious is to acquire the technology. If you sell your technology, you make a new car and you sell the car, you are transferring the technology to another company or to an user. So you are transferring the technology. In the same way, you can transfer services or any kind of innovation. You can also provide consultancy or scientific advice or services, scientific support. It is another way of transferring knowledge, transferring technology to a third actor. By licensing, we are also transferring rights to exploit something. For example, you can dedicate some years to develop something from research to innovation, from the research field to something practical and to put that in the market, but you can't decide not to exploit it by yourself, but you can protect yourself, as I mentioned in the last slide, to protect with the rights, with a license, with a patent, and then to sell this license to anybody else that are happy to exploit this solution. Or cross-licensing. Cross-licensing means that I exchange the license of something between partners. For example, I can give you the rights to exploit my solution, but in contrast, I receive from your group the rights to exploit something that you have already developed and has a practical application. Another kind of technology transferring is research collaboration, and then you can, for example, collaborate with industry and to decide to work together for a while. For example, we have this example in HBP now with the 7 companies that we have introduced in the consortium. So we have now 7 companies collaborating very close to purely scientific stuff that we have in HBP. That is a very interesting collaboration because it is normally gives rise to another lines of co-creation and working together. For example, in another kind of development. So we have also the startups, spin-offs modality to transfer technology. We have the joint ventures, just to join with another partner to try to make a business plan together and to exploit something. You can share facilities, you can exchange personnel and staff, you can sign know-how contracts with other parties, and you can also develop some or put in place some turnkey projects, so projects on which you are commissioned to provide something from the start, from the scratch to the end, a full solution, and then you deliver and get the revenues for that. So that is the different modalities are up to you to decide. Once you have very clear what you have in your hands, what have you developed in HBP, and what is the maturity level on which you are. Then once you have all of this ready, you can decide what is the modality that you prefer or you think is better. So finally, what we want is to connect offer with demand, that is innovation, to put in the market. So for that, we support you helping in making attractive technology catalog, technology sheets or cards where you can easily present to somebody else and to explain what you are doing in a very communicative way. For example, you have here the virtual epileptic patient card, with this and another in 1 or 2 pages, you can very easily to present the results in a very summarized way to somebody else that want or are interested and could be potentially a final user. So we use this technology catalog to have all these services and products developed in HBP collected, and you can find the technology catalog in the web page, in the innovation web page. And we also try to identify the users and try to together with the group or just supporting them to approach in the practice, to approach the users, to talk with them and to explain them what we are doing and try to wake in them interest for the things that we are doing. So that is connecting different sources, different service categories of HBP. You can see there the e-brains and the research groups. You are part of the research groups in HBP, and you are making hardware, software, services, models, database. In most of the occasions, you are making 3 or 4 kinds of these results together. People are working in different types of products, but you have to identify what are the users, even in any kind of industrial areas like microscopy, hospitals, robotics, any kind of markets. Well, that is the technology transfer modality. So what we are doing to make this network more solid, more active, and more interesting for HBP, we have the communities, the national innovation communities, and we have also make this call for engagement of companies. It's not important only to make to put the conditions to create the hub, the national innovation community, but also to maintain the interest of people in these hubs. That's why we make these activities of communicating them about HBP very regularly. In terms of putting industrial actors in HBP, we have made a call for industry engagement, and also we have made we are making an initiative of connecting with the startups in Europe, solution workshops that I will explain you what is this initiative, to connect startups in outside of HBP with the HBP researchers. So that is to start with the national innovation communities. We have different companies. You can see that in the Spanish community, we have different industry and health associations. We have biomedical institutions, and we have companies. Some of them are very, very active now in HBP because, in fact, some of them, 2 of them are now joining the HBP consortium through the call. And it's important to see the role of industry and health associations or biomedical institutions, because normally they have the capacity to disseminate HBP news to a large quantity of associations members. So this is very important. For example, pharma industry it has a lot of pharma companies registered or members in this association. So it's a very interesting and impactful channel for us to arrive the markets. Regarding the call, here you have the 4 winners of our call. Previously, I have referred to the new e-commerce in the consortium. I have referred to 7 companies. That's why we have another 3 companies that are part of another call that we don't coordinate. So that's our call. The call that we coordinate have given rise to 4 connections, 4 new companies embedded from next month will be formally members of HBP. First one is Neuro Connect, is knowledge management solution for multimodal brain atlas and connectome integration from Germany. CESPAR, that is a robotics project that is to make an exoskeleton with two industrial partners, Alpine and Autonomium. Then we have NeuroRobin, a Spanish company that is making also some robotics developments, and Living Brain, that is they are producing a new, very new PET for brain imaging, and it's a new generation, but that it is hopefully providing a lot of rich data to the atlas, to the human brain atlas. So these 4 actors are new in HBP and have been part of this call for industry engagement. And regarding the startups and spin-offs, as I told you before, we have the 2 perspectives of looking inwards and looking outside of HBP. In this case, these startup solution workshops are the outside perspective, because we are now in this moment finalizing a mapping exercise to identify brain startups in Europe. Up to now, we have identified more than 400 companies working in technology-based companies working in brain. And then what we are going to do is to select some, first we will select a topic. We will cluster them in different topics, area of work. And then once we decide what is the first workshop, because the workshop are going to be thematic, so we will organize a workshop for the next in May or beginning of June, a workshop with only very little number of companies, but very much interested and oriented to the utilization of e-brain services. So we have to interact with them through this next month in the topic that we decide to do it. Well, could be pharma, could be medical devices, it could be neuromorphic. We will see, because the decision will be a consequence of our analysis of these 400. But finally, we will select 5 or 6 of them, And we will organize a workshop with another HBP researchers that will be working in this area. And in these interactive workshops, we will try to capture them as users of HBP and to let them understand what HBP is doing. And then we will also interact during the rest of HEA3 with the other companies that will not participate in the workshop. But in any case, it's a very interesting initiative because the startup is a very important actor for us in regarding exploitation and innovation, because they are not only present, could be probably present users, but also future users for e-brains. So well, that is problem oriented. We will try to identify first, before the workshop, we will try to identify what kind of things e-brains could provide them to address their problems. That is why the name of the workshop is Startup Solution Workshops. And after this outward initiative, this Startup Solution Workshop, we will organize another workshop that it is still to be designed, but it is focusing in the startups emerging between HBP. So the exploitation, that is so important. That is why it's so important the analysis that we are doing in your exploitation plans recently received. And in fact, I have had some further conversation with some of you related with some mentioning that you do in terms of planning a startup, to create a startup in the future. We are very interested in detecting any possibility of creating a startup from the different HBP groups. We need to identify them because we want to make a workshop where we will put together these startups with people that can help you in relation with this startup creation, not only giving you, trying to increase your capabilities in terms of entrepreneurship and in education, from the education perspective, but also we will try to put in this workshop and this to interact with investors and people that could be potentially partners in your startup initiative. And well, to understand as well what are the main problems that you have, because after HBP, well, probably these startups, we will go along and they will be working with some HBP strong results, and they will be working and exploiting that in the markets. So this you will be informed on this initiative that will be designed in the next months, and hopefully this year we will have the first workshop in this regard. But the most immediate workshop related with startups is this startup solution workshops for external startups. Well, some insights about technology intelligence. I don't know if you have up to now any questions that you would like to address. No? Is everything clear? Okay. Well, what we do in HBP, what are the tools, innovation management tools that we do in HBP to promote and to reinforce your intelligence on the markets? Well, we are making market analysis. We have completed neuromorphic computing analysis, virtual epileptic patient, and spiking neural modeling and training analysis. The third one is going to be shared with our colleagues in this week, and we will publish that after their approval in the next weeks. And we are also some analysis in process, the brain atlas analysis, the brain simulation with NEST, very much focused on education. And we are making the MIP and the HIP analysis, the medical platform. Another work related with the applications of HBP for hospital transversally. This is not probably so specific as the others, but it is more transversal, and the mapping of the startups that I mentioned before. So this is a market review. We make some roadmaps, some analysis on that. And you can see at the right part of the screen that we have made something as a timeline for the BEP. And we also make environmental scanning of the different actors and in the different domains in HBP to identify the SMEs and startup. That are the brain technology startups that we have identified in Europe. Therefore, we have identified 400, as I told you before, but many of them are not European. So that is the European companies that we have identified are these ones that you can see in the graphic. So related with the entrepreneurship, you have the different workshop, different initiatives. We have made different analysis to help them in their business plans. You can see strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis of these companies to help them to be introduced in the market. And finally, the last topic on IP protection and ownership. We help you to protect the technology developments that you make, but not only by providing training, but also monitoring the patents application. That is something that is explicitly asked in the exploitation plans. And we know that many of you have already applied for patents. That patenting is a long and expensive process. So in many cases, we have not the patent, but we know that the patent, the technology is protected as far as the application has been made. As you probably know, when you have the application completed and submitted, you have some kind of protection before the patent is finally granted. But in any case, it's important to be aware of what kind of patents are in HBP, and we monitor that. And we also use patent analysis. In this market analysis, we use patent analysis, for example, for the neuromorphic computing reports. We have made a comprehensive patent analysis of different solutions worldwide in this domain, and then it helps us to take decisions and to make recommendations in these studies to the people working in this area. Here is we will see that tomorrow, so I will not stop here, but we have different modalities of protection, of IP protection, from patents to trademarks. And the ownership of the results, especially in HBP, where so many research groups work together. Well, normally the result is not owned by a single group. Normally is a cooperation work. So we need to know obviously what the grant agreement is saying in terms of sharing the ownership of different co-created things. So we will talk about that also a little bit more tomorrow. I think that I am finishing with this almost as a conclusion, and we will give room for you for some questions, 10 or 15 minutes questions. As a conclusion, we are, as you can see, we are making use of different tools in HBP related with innovation management that help you to be more committed with innovation, to be open to collaboration, proactive, and to be to assume the risk of creating entrepreneurship and to think strategically in terms, for example, of protection and this kind of aspects. So this innovation, these innovation tools are things that I invite you to do, not only by yourself. So you know what we are doing. I invite you to be proactive and to do things in your work consisting of this kind of innovation oriented things. So innovation should be part of your daily work and your planning work. So things in this way. It's important to have present, and it's difficult sometimes to make understand this importance to people that are basically working all day in research. But please consider that after research, we should have practical things in the markets. And when I refer to markets, I refer not only to industrial and let's say money-wise activities. What we want is that our results will be practical, scientifically, commercially, or in any kind of dimension. But at least we need to find a practical utilization of our work. So, well, you can see that the innovation team, through this task 8.5 and 6, is covering the full spectrum of innovation tools. So if you have any kind of small or big doubts about these tools or any other with which you come across in the next months and next years, please contact us and we will be very happy to help you. So here I finish my part, and I leave the room to you to address questions to both Gonzalo or me. So thank you, and I'm waiting for your questions. Thanks.
Yes, I know that Cindy, did you like to? No, no, just only one comment from my side. There is also another type of activity we will start, which is to help some research groups here in HBP to prepare a proposal for the European Innovation Council. You know that the Horizon Europe has been approved with a new pillar, to say, well, they have included there in this pillar the European Innovation and Technology, EIT, but also the EIC, the European Innovation Council. And then there are some calls open at this moment where people can present the proposal to receive some funds to move things to the market. And there is a pathfinder, but basically the transition, which is one specific instrument with some money, the call is open until 22nd of September, or 21st or 22nd of September. And then there are some groups here, I don't know if you or not, but which are preparing some proposals to move things. And then we're also helping them to prepare the proposal. At least yesterday we had a meeting with the MIP people because they are preparing a proposal to enter into the EIC call for transition, and then to receive some millions of euros if they succeed to present a proposal. Then this is also another thing that you need to consider. I hadn't time to explain in detail the European Innovation Council, but tomorrow we can also come back. But please pay attention to that, because there's an opportunity to obtain some funding from the European Union to put things into the market by starting with some of the results of projects at this moment. Patricia, did you say something?
Yes, thank you. I have a question. There is an embryonic idea of a startup in one of our exploitation plans that were packaged through. So what is the next step? Once we define, once we identify this embryonic idea, how should we manage that? To whom we should work? Is there a template? I would like to know what to do once identify this idea.
Okay. Guillermo, would you like to?
Well, yeah, well, I can tell you something, and then Gonzalo, you have something else to add. I can, for example, give you the example of other startups in HBP that are in the same situation. And what is important first is that you have clear the structure in terms of ownership of this startup. It's just to begin with. Obviously, I assume that you have the technology identified that it will be supporting this startup, the technology that you want to exploit something very clearly with the maturity that I mentioned before as well, to know where you are in terms of finishing this technology. Is this market ready or not? But an important, let's say, more bureaucratic part is to agree with the different. I come back to the ownership aspect. You need to know very well who are the owners of this company, because otherwise you may have a very good business plan, very good intention, and then you come across with different barriers or difficulties or discussions on that in this regard. So I have already talked with people in HBP that are in the same situation, and they are finalizing this kind of decisions. Once you have that, then we can support you with a specific, for example, a specific, we will see if it is the case or not, a specific market analysis that can support you with regard the business plan that you should do. You have to make a business plan. That is something where we don't enter in the business plan, because business plan normally has to deal with financial aspect that you only know, and we don't. But in terms of supporting you with the market view and to help you in this business plan, we can also help you. And and then to have more specific conversations if you need it related with the commercialization.
Patricia, the problem is that we need to go case by case, because at this moment in the exploitation plans appear 7 spin-offs in the process of creating a spin-off. The spin-off, they don't exist yet. But even in that cases, the status of the creation of these spin-offs is also very different. In some cases, these are simply ideas coming from the research groups, but they are not materialized in a way that they have a team of people behind the startup to be able to launch it in short term. In other cases, yes, because they have some negotiations. Then even in those negotiations, we can also support in order to help them in defining better what should be the type of technology to be transferred to the spin-off, and what kind of licenses should be done for that, and what should be the requirements to keep in the project other type of things. It depends on the business models. I have found some companies that like to survive on the basis of services offered to others, and they don't need to develop anything. But in other cases, yes, because they need to receive the technology, because they like to develop more products, and then the technology is a technology-based company based on products. Then we have found here 2 types of startups or spin-offs in the process. Some of them are related to product development, and then they need to receive the technology to work on that. And in other cases, they need also to provide services, because the research groups say they don't like to enter into the service provision, and they like to do that, or delegate that in a company. These companies are totally different, and then we need to go case by case. In other cases, there are some problems, at least in 2 cases I know, because that is not clear. the technology to be transferred to the technology depends on more than one research groups in HBP. And this is typically the case where the results were obtained in some tasks where many people were participating. Then in these cases, before launching the company, it should be clear agreement between the research groups involved to define what to do with the company, and then to define exactly what should be the agreement they have, because maybe the technology, the basis of the technology for that company is co-ownership by more than one group. And then it's something that they need to be clarified. In many cases, with the participation of the TTOs, the technology transfer offices of those units, which are other institutions, which is not the same than the research group. And finally, it's also very relevant to know what type of company should be created. Is just a private company, fully private, no participation of the public institutions in the shareholders structure, or is just a spin-off with the participation of some universities or research centers as a part of the shareholders. And it's crucial to know that, because the type of negotiations and the type of operation of the company change a lot. And then it's also necessary to do that. But obviously we need to go case by case, because the situation could be very different. Even in the same work package. I don't know the situation in your work package, but not necessarily should be the same.
Okay, thank you. I think we should analyze very deeply with the PIs. And well, after this course, because I was waiting to listen to you, to come with fresh ideas and to discuss with them. And we will consider all this information that you share with us today to do a deep analysis and map where we are and see if it's feasible or if it's a good idea, or if we are ready to prepare to give a next step. So thank you very much.
Okay, we are open to discuss it. Okay, any additional? Are you preparing something for the EIC, for the calls of the Pathfinder or transition calls open at this moment by the European Innovation Council?
As I know, nothing yet, but I have to ask yet, because we have to talk with also with work package leader, maybe some group.
Yeah, because I've not discussed it today, because nobody's interested. I don't like to go time, but tomorrow we can do. If you are interested on that, because there's an opportunity, and there's an opportunity which the call explicitly says that the transition is focused on the flagships results, and that I'm not saying with that the proposal will be selected, but at least they are thinking in some proposals to be received from people participating in Fed flagships.
Yeah, Gonzalo, as I understand, I mean, if it's a call for moving things to the market, but maybe these technologies should be at very advanced stage, right?
Not necessarily. In the transition, they should be TRL4.
TRL4.
That you have a prototype more or less working in the lab with some customer users with some kind of feedback. But precisely the idea is to move them from 4 to 6 or 7. Then it's just to mature this kind of results. You don't need to have the results yet. The accelerator, which is also another call. That's different, because in accelerator you need to have the spin-off created, and then you are accelerating that. But in the transition, that is not necessary. You need to have something. You need to have some results to start. If there are no results, that is very difficult to mature anything. Lisa, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that for our group, so work package 1, especially for the AMU partner with Victor Giersa, we are planning on submitting the EIC Pathfinder Open. And we are also looking into submitting something for the accelerator or the transition, or maybe both, let's see. So it would be really useful to have more information or more content on this.
Then if you like, tomorrow I can devote 15 minutes to
Perfect.
a little bit more about that.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Any question? No? We have just in the limit of time. Well, thank you very much for your attention today. And then tomorrow we'll continue. Okay.